You're listening to Free Zone Radio.
Hey, book friends, it's Courtney from Courtney Reads It All, back with another review for you on Free Zone Radio. This week I want to talk to you about Dead But Dreaming of Electric Sheep by one of my favorite horror authors, Paul Tremblay. I came across this book through Aardvark Book Club, which is becoming one of my favorite book clubs to be a member of, and I was really excited because an opportunity came around for me to be able to meet him at an author talk in Nashville at Parnassus Books. He was coming to talk about the release of Dead But Dreaming of Electric Sheep. So I made sure that I added this book to my box, and in hand, I went to Nashville in search of answers from Paul Tremblay himself. So, Dead But Dreaming of Electric Sheep is kind of like a genre-bending, near-future horror novel, right? Written by Paul Tremblay. It's about Julia Flang. She's a former semi-professional gamer, and her estranged mother is like a high-ranking CEO at like a major tech company. Julia is kind of coerced into a job where she is in charge of escorting, there's quotes around that, a vegetative man who she affectionately refers to as Bernie. For those of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s, you'll remember Weekend at Bernie's and that movie, and that's where she drew her inspiration for this guy's name. She's supposed to escort him from California to the East Coast. But see, here's the thing. Bernie had a stroke while working for the company that Julia's mother runs, and he had signed away the rights to his body to this company. And now they have implanted generative AI technology into his brain in order to, quote unquote, keep him alive to the point where he can be controlled to get from point A to point B. So Julia controls like his physical body with a remote control that's on a cell phone. But we begin to notice that Bernie's mind maybe isn't quite as dead as they thought. They'd deemed him brain dead in the beginning. And so it was, okay for them to do this because he really wasn't alive anyway. Here's the thing. So I saw Paul Tremblay in person. I was unaware of the fact until I saw him that evening that he has been involved in a lawsuit with AI companies concerning his own books, right? How they're feeding them to their machines in order for the AI to grow smarter and to learn the English language and to, do what they do for people on a daily basis. And he doesn't want that to happen. He wants to keep his literature out there for people and not machines, which I totally respect, right? So I get the idea of this book, what he's trying to do with this novel. There's a whole spiel in this about how novels should be written with excerpts in between chapters that don't make any sense in order for these books that are being fed to AI machines to kind of throw them off, right? In the same way that Julia is also being kind of coerced into manipulating Bernie in ways that it might throw off the research that her mother's company is doing. I really do like the concept of what's being done in this book, but I have to be honest, friends, and tell you that I'm not going to finish it. The parts in the middle of Bernie and his thought process are just a bit much for me, right? I don't know if maybe this whole, technological horror is not my thing, or maybe if it's just because I find the parts told from Bernie, quote-unquote's point of view, a tad bit boring and tedious and hard to get through. But it's necessary that you read those in order to understand what's happening between him and Julia. And as much as I want to finish it in order to be able to know what happened, because look, I'm not going to lie, I've seen this all over the internet. Everybody's talking about it, how wonderful it is, right? And I'm not going to say that it's not. But it's like I tell my students, everything that we read is not going to be liked by everybody, right? Which leads me to a pretty teachable moment I had the other day, because I've been pretty bummed out about the fact that I'm not going to finish it. I just can't make myself do it. I told Mr. Crockett, the producer of these shows, that it's been sitting on my shelf since July. I started reading it, and then when I met Paul Tremblay, and I read it for several weeks, and then I just kind of stopped and haven't gone back to it. But I was reading a story with my kids the other day called Contents of the Dead Man's Pockets. And the kids generally love this story, but the pacing is so slow. And Jack Finney does that to draw their reader in, to create that sense of tension, to give us that real big anticipatory build, as to what's going to happen to the main character. And I had one student, while everybody was on bathroom break, come to me and tell me that she skipped ahead and read the last page because she just couldn't wait anymore to know what happened. And I said to her, oh, now you've just kind of ruined it for yourself, right? And we talked about how, we have to wait and see what happens. You can't skip ahead because you miss the whole point of how we got to point B if you skip everything between A and B. But then I have to be honest, friends, it gave me a really good idea. That idea is I really want to know how it ends. I really do. I'm invested enough in Julia and what she's trying to do and in Bernie that I want to know how it ends. So I think I might take a cue from my students, and I might read the last chapter just so I know how the story goes, right? I'm not going to say that it's not worth reading. For me, it's DNF. But for you, it might be your number one read of 2026. I'll never tell people to not read Paul Tremblay. I'll always say, read Paul Tremblay. But I'm just warning you, Dead But Dreaming of Electric Sheep may not be everybody's cup of tea. Let me leave you today with my last, now, and next. My last was Mad Maple. My now is She's a Doll. And my next is going to be the fabulous Theo of Golden. Thanks, book friends. Have a great Friday.